There's no excuse for abuse. There's a lot of different types of abuse, and it shows up in different ways. And obviously, some types are more clear than other types, like physical violence, sexual violence. These things are pretty obvious. Physical, if somebody's using their body to enforce power over you in some way, shape, or form. Sex, also, if you're made to feel like you have to have sex when you don't want to, when somebody doesn't take no for an answer. And I'm not just talking about men abusing women, it happens both ways also. And of course, there's spiritual and cultural abuse, which might fall under discriminatory abuse or prejudice when people use your spiritual or religious beliefs to manipulate you or dominate you. And same culturally, if they use your cultural beliefs to harm you because they're not accepting your culture or race or religion. And then there's financial abuse too. If you're committing fraud or somebody's committing fraud against you, or you're robbing your partner or misusing your resources, these all fall under abuse. And then the biggest one is neglect. If somebody is in your care and you're not taking care of them, you're not providing them the things that you need to provide them, including bringing friends around to see them so that they're not in isolation, making sure they're well fed and dressed and warm and watered and all of that good stuff. So often neglect can fall under the other kinds of less obvious abuses that I want to talk to you about now, because a lot of my clients come to me and what's happening is that they're basically in some kind of toxic or abusive relationship and they don't realize it because it's happened so slowly, and it happens like drip fed until you're underneath somebody's thumb. And this is where emotional abuse, psychological abuse, and verbal abuse can all fall into it. And probably one of my teachers certainly said, we're all guilty of it. If you've ever yelled at your kids, if you've ever yelled at anybody, that is a form of abuse. Generally, hopefully, most of us are good enough people where we can own our stuff then and apologize and take responsibility for things. But if somebody is constantly, consistently saying or doing something to make you feel less than and worthless, or laughing, in a sarcastic way, or belittling you in some way, that really falls under emotional abuse because it makes you feel small. And bullies do that. Usually bullies are the kind of people who feel small themselves, so they need to make other people feel small so that they can feel bigger in themselves. And psychological abuse might be people using threats or causing fear in another person to gain control over them. So if any of you are in a narcissistic relationship, if your partner is narcissistic or gaslighting you, that's really a form of psychological abuse where they really just twist everything around until eventually you're questioning your own sanity in that. So be very aware, because these things happen slowly over time and stealthily, and you don't realize that you're losing your sense of self and giving up your power to someone. And then the other one, of course, is verbal abuse. When somebody uses language, whether it's spoken or written, to cause harm to an individual. Now, there's a fine line with all of these things because we're humans and we all have big emotions and we say things, and the minute you say something that you wish you didn't say, you're like, oh no, and you're wanting to pull the words right back into your mouth as they're happening. So these are one-off events, but if you're consistently feeling like you're being belittled, or you have someone who is consistently yelling at you or screaming at you or threatening you or making you feel fearful or making you feel like you can't speak your truth to that person, or making you feel like you have to hide from that person, then you've really got to look at that, because if you have a strong, healthy adult relationship with your nearest and dearest, your partner, your children, your parents, your friends, you ought to be able to have a back and forth, easy form of communication. And if you don't, you've got to look at that in yourself, take responsibility for your part of it, but also see what's coming from the other person, and think about how you were before you met that person and how you are now, because a lot of people don't even realize that they're in this kind of drama day in, day out. And it's really not good. And I mean, you've heard of people staying in physically abusive relationships, and you wonder why. If somebody hits you, get out of there. Except that, and I'm always talking about this uncomfortable comfort zone, people stay in their uncomfortable comfort zone because they don't know any other way, and they start to make excuses for it and start to justify it and take on that feeling of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not feeling deserving of having a clear, open, adult, healthy exchange with people. So this happens slowly over time, and it's really not good for you. So if you feel at all like you're in a kind of relationship where you're losing your power and you're not able to express yourself without your partner getting defensive with you, without your partner punishing you in some way. We were talking last night in the class that retreating from someone to take some space to process something is very different than giving someone the silent treatment. The energy around that is completely different. So you've got to look at the dynamics that are going on. And if you're the one doing this to someone, look underneath. What is that about? What is your motivating factor? Are you angry? Are you resentful? Are you upset in some way? Are you frightened in some way? What is causing your reasoning, if there is reasoning behind that? Most of this behavior, hopefully, is unconscious, maybe not the psychological abuse that has an edge of conscious manipulation around it. But if you're the perpetrator, then I really encourage you to step back for a minute and look at what are your motivating factors underneath that kind of behavior, because that is a choice at the end of the day. We want to all be responsible adults and take responsibility for our actions. And this is why people don't often jump into a self-development course, because you have to face your stuff. You have to man up, woman up, and face your deepest stuff and start to take responsibility for yourself. But every time you're in a situation, good or bad, whether you're the victim or whether you're the perpetrator, you have a wonderful opportunity there to grow, to really step back, to go within yourself, to have a chat with yourself and figure out what are the underlying root factors. What happened when I was a kid to feel this level of, I'm just going to go for it here, fear, anger, shame, worthlessness, lack, doubt, isolation, anger, disgust, not feeling safe, feeling alone, feeling like the bad one, feeling like I always have to rise above things, feeling like the good girl, the bad girl, the good boy, the bad boy. Oh, the list goes on and on and on. So what kind of low-level, stealthy sabotage techniques are going on in your life right now? Who are you allowing to emotionally abuse you in some way? Or who might you be emotionally abusing in some way that you have never really thought about, if it's really out of awareness? And this is the kind of stuff we really get down deep with in From Fear into Love, and we unpick all of it so that you can learn to love yourself the most, so that you can learn to be in a real solid place of self-alignment. that doesn't mean that life is just going to go swimmingly along and everybody's going to be happy and nothing's ever going to go down. No, but what it means is that you're going to have a whole new level of self-worth and self-understanding. And if you've lost your power, given it up to someone, you're going to be able to regain that power and regain that sense of self and come back into the truth of who you are, into your fundamental being. So, what are you worth? I would really love to hear from you. Book a Mindshift call and let's have that free chat so that we can see if we can work together, if we have a lovely dance. I would really love to help you find your truest self, regain your power so that you can live a life in joy and peace and balance. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.